Good morning, everyone, and welcome to NPU Live. It is Thursday, April 23rd, 2020. I'm Keri Rodriguez.
And I'm Tim Langen.
So excited to have you with us. A lot of exciting guests from all over the country today. Our friends from New Jersey, our friends from Chicago checking in. Of course, we'll stop by Austin, Texas for check-in with Mira Brown from Prepared Parents. All right here on the show today.
It's nice and warm in Austin.
That's right.
And I need warmth today. I'm freezing, man.
Not so warm here. You know, it's reminding me. It's about 39 degrees in Boston today, and it's almost May. Reminding me of last May when we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of parents at the Massachusetts State House in the middle of May. You'd think, okay, you know, maybe you get some rain. That's probably the worst of the weather you have to deal with. Nope, it was like 30 degrees.
6 a.m. freezing.
We're all huddled under a giant tent. There were so many of us. I mean, it's a blessing as an organizer to have like such an incredible turnout as we had that day. But oh my goodness, we blocked all of the entrances to the State House.
Yeah, not intentionally. But we did it anyway. That's the point. You shut it down.
But we did shut it down. There was actually an article not only about why we were there, but the fact that we shut the building down. But all of that, you know, the parents were out there, even though it was like 30 degrees. It was like sleeting. It was miserable. It was miserable. But they were like so filled with joy because that's what parents do.
That's what they do.
Fired up.
They get fired up. They were on buses fighting for their kids.
They were mad as hell, and they weren't going to take it anymore.
That's right.
And let me tell you something. It turned the tide.
That's right.
These parents not just marching and being, you know, angry that their kids were being underserved by schools in Massachusetts, but also saying, we've got a solution. Here's our legislation. You better pass it right now.
And they did.
And they did.
They did.
Holy crap.
They did.
Say he won't do it. It is amazing.
That's right. It was good stuff.
But, you know, I'm just reflecting when I saw that temperature. I was like, ooh.
I remember that.
Even these spring days, I remember it getting pretty chilly. And across the nation, some interesting weather. We're seeing some tornadoes in Oklahoma. So we want to send some love to all of our delegates from the National Parents Union, Nehemiah, Colleen Cook, Robert Ruiz, all of our friends.
That's right. Please stay safe.
Oklahoma, please stay safe. Always taking a look out for you too for South Carolina, Isis Span, you know, Miss Span from Fundamental.
That's right. That's right.
You know, I'm always worried about her. I mean, she's fierce. She was built for this. But you know what?
You know what she'll do when the tornado comes?
She'll clap it out.
She'll start clapping and start dancing at it.
She'll dance it out.
And then she'll do a number line.
Yeah, and then she'll put it on TikTok. So what? So what? What are you gonna do? Tornado. I mean, Miss Span is not here for any of your foolishness.
That's right.
But anyway, some storms, you know, hitting kind of the East Coast today, you know, rolling through the southeast and pushing up towards our area. But
look at this little map here.
Yeah,
some of those geographically challenged here. Where's we got Oklahoma.
I wish we had a green screen. Someone on our show today is going to look like she's.
I know. We have to do some of this backdrop. Where's Arkansas here? Arkansas to me.
Arkansas is
there.
Yeah, it's right down here.
Okay, right down there. Okay, well, special thanks today to, you know, let's get to some good news here. Is Judith Yanez, who was on Univision today for us.
That's right.
Representing parents.
This show is pretty popular. We reach about 1 million families every single week here, which is pretty crazy.
That's incredible.
You know, for this little series of broadcasts. But Judith, this morning on the Univision equivalent of like their Good Morning America, for her segment talking about the National Parents Union and the work that we're doing. You know, so proud of her. So
that's right. She's incredible. She's incredible.
She is. She's extraordinary. And there's so many parents across the country, part of the National Parents Union, doing extraordinary work. Yeah. An awesome article in the 74.
Yes,
our friend Beth Hawkins.
Here we go.
Featuring all of these members of the National Parents Union.
That's right.
I might be a little biased about this particular article because it features a beautiful picture of my little baby boy as he was losing his tooth, you know, and you know, he was having a little moment there.
I'm coming.
You know, this extraordinary article about how families right now are facing some rude awakenings about where their kids are educationally. This was wonderful to see. And Beth has been doing extraordinary work talking with actual families. And we've been trying to do our best work to connect her with families. You know, we've got 200 organizations part of this group. So we've been throwing these families, you know, saying like, these are the people who you need to talk to directly. And she did a great job of kind of connecting with whole bunch of folks.
But if I want to share, I want to talk about one thing, not covered there. You saw Nehemiah Frank there with his nephew. And I was talking about this yesterday on Facebook, that right now, families, I mean, I think actually always, they come in all different shapes and sizes. And there's Nehemiah Frank with his nephew, and I followed him a little bit on Facebook as he shows his nephew how to read, teaches his kid how to read, and that's what we're all stepping up.
That's what's so interesting, and it's funny that you bring that up, Tim, because I find it so weird. Like, since we've been in the pandemic, you know, we talk about it all the time.
Right.
God, you had your ex-wife on the show, like
talking about
like families look different, and it's not all, you know, this traditional 1940s style, like mom and dad works and mom's gonna sit home and be the teacher. And no.
Show me a schoolyard at the end of the day where it is majority parents picking up their kids.
No.
Because what I see are ex-wives, grandparents, uncles, everyone. I don't know any family where the husband goes out and works and the wife is staying at home cooking and cleaning and picking up the kids.
Yeah, and so Nehemiah, I mean, he's extraordinary.
He's incredible.
This story, you don't want to miss it. We're gonna put it up on the National Parents Union Facebook, because obviously we're so proud to see so many of our folks. Christina Laster in there. I'm never gonna miss an opportunity to put a picture of my little Miley up there.
No, that's
so cute. Oh, come on! Can we show my Miley?
Okay, hold on. Let me get my.
But extraordinary to hear Nehemiah's story about, you know, it's really heartbreaking when you find out that, you know, somebody, a little person you care so much about, whether it's your nephew, your son, your daughter, you know, your whoever it is in your life, and you're confronted with the fact that they've been underserved.
Look at those guys.
Saying, thank goodness. There's Rashad from the Minnesota Parents Union. Shout out to our homies there.
And if anyone has any feedback about my technical expertise, you can send that to info@idon'tcare.org. There's Christina Laster. Where'd she go? Is she on there yet?
No, I'm sure it'll catch up in just a minute.
Okay, I'm a little bit of
Christina.
Look at that.
And there's my little Miley.
Waiting for that tooth to show up there. Is that? I think it's showing up. I think we gotta. There we go.
There it goes. It'll come.
There we go.
But there's my Miles.
Look at that thing. I just want to stick my finger in there and take it out.
That was a dangler.
That was a dangler, man.
You know, when our babies, like, you have that front tooth, that'll stay there. That'll dangle there for months.
Man, Dylan's got one right now.
Oh yeah.
I think I'm gonna tie a little string to it and tie the other end to my CRV.
You're gonna have to catch him first.
That's right. Good luck with that.
But you know, this article all about parents and you know, all family members realizing that, you know, some of our kids have been underserved, some of our kids have been underestimated, and this is really a transformational time for parents, where we are, you know, because we are now the teachers in our homes, recognizing what our children's strengths and their weaknesses are, how they learn, you know, what's the best environment for them. And, you know, what I was talking about in this article is my concern about the fact that, you know, what was leading to a lot of tension at home is the fact that, you know, in the first couple of weeks, and frankly, some parents across the nation still dealing with this, we didn't hear from schools, because schools were like, we don't know what to do. Like, we've never done remote learning or online learning. So, and some schools still stuck in that. We know, you know, talking to Bernita and a whole bunch of folks in the Midwest, they've been struggling there. But, you know, what parents do, parents are going to step up to the plate. Okay. And so a bunch of us hopped online trying to figure this stuff out for our babies. We weren't going to wait, but folks would be going to the Great Schools website and say, okay, I got a second grader. So that means they should be doing second grade work, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to get the math worksheets and the reading worksheets. And then you will put them down in front of your baby, and there would be a fight because they couldn't do it. And you'd be thinking, oh, well, I guess they just don't want to, and they're being defiant, and you're going to sit your butt down and you're going to do this because this is second grade work and you're a second grade. That's not how it works.
Nope.
And, you know, many of us have read the Learning Heroes data and reports talking about how important report cards are. We trust them, but they don't really tell us what the information we need. And so now we're being confronted with the fact that, you know, maybe your child can't do that second grade work, even though they've been designated a second grader. Maybe you have to go to first grade. Maybe you got to go to kindergarten.
Yeah.
In Miles' situation, Miles is a little math genius. So we had to keep bumping him up and challenging him more. And even now, when I see him hopping on Prodigy Math and trying to get away with, you know, just answering
Now,
a whole bunch of right answers so he can get his next gem. I'm like, no, we gotta step up, level up. Yeah. So it's for the good and the bad, like seeing how we know what our kids are capable of and what they're not, and recognizing that some of them need support, some of them need to be challenged, but hopefully the silver lining in all of this is that we're going to step up and advocate for our kids in the future and fight for a better system.
Yeah, we are.
So,
but parents are going to work hard for their kids. What they don't need, because let's talk about this, okay? So they shut down schools in Somerville, Mass on a Thursday. I'm walking with Keri. I'm thinking, maybe I'll have a couple of days off from school. Be nice and easy. She smacks the mayonnaise out of my. You smacked the mayonnaise. I had a big jar of mayonnaise in my hand. Yeah. About to make a sandwich. She smacked it on my hand and you said, let's go to work for our kids.
That's right.
Next thing I know, we're in the Apple store, we're whipping this stuff up, getting some signs, getting the backdrop going. You're like, we're not screwing around, man. No. We gotta fight for our kids.
This is not a time to hide under the covers. It's time to get to work. I think we were like the last people in the Apple store to get this equipment so that we could say, we're gonna broadcast.
So what I'm saying is we don't need a free ride.
Nope.
We'll work hard.
And parents, like, I don't know, the way I grew up, the way most folks I talk to grew up, like, we don't expect a free ride.
Well, I don't know how they grew up in Seattle.
Oh, yes.
I'm just going to go there.
We got to bring this up.
Let's bring this up. Let's see. Don't look at the, see if I did it right here. Am I sharing my screen here?
There we go. Let's see if we can bring it up.
There we go.
The gist of the story is A's for All, the most Seattle thing ever.
Brought to you by seattletimes.com/jobs.
Oh my gosh. So Seattle has voted to give all students A's. Everybody gets an A. I don't know how that solves any problem, other than now just kind of covering up disparities,
Well, that's exactly what it is, Keri.
Gets an A.
Well, that's exactly what it is, Keri. One reason why they're doing that. So this was voted down 5-2, and the two people who said no, they wanted some time to think about this. They weren't given any time, probably because of the disparity specifically in online learning. Mm-hmm. So if you look at Los Angeles right now, they had about 90+% of their students log into online learning in there. Seattle, 71%, way down. This is already, and again, there were already disparities previously with learning and attendance and curriculum. So it's really just trying to sweep this under the rug.
Sweeping things under the rug and saying, you know what, regardless of what you do for the rest of the year, we're going to pat you on the head and give you an A and not worry about it.
That's right.
And there's no urgency at all. Like, if you're already getting an A, why log on at all?
That's right.
And if everybody gets A's, then there's no problems anywhere. And so, kids that might need to be identified as not mastering content or not being at grade level, well, who's going to know?
Who cares?
Everybody gets an A.
That's right.
So, this is BS. And
I'm sorry, I compared it to Los Angeles. I meant to say Louisiana. My apologies.
There we go.
There you go.
So anyway,
parents, what do you think of that? What do you think about it? If I said to you, we're going to give your kids an A. Tell us, National Parents Union viewers.
Yes, we're asking questions of the day. A fiery conversation on the National Parents Union Facebook yesterday. The back and forth about whether or not folks agreed with the protesters protesting to liberate certain states. So we'll put this one up. Should every kid in America, if your school's closed, you just give them automatic A? That'll be our question of the day. So
that's great, and we did get some feedback on that. On whether or not how people felt about the protests.
Yes, strong feelings.
Strong feelings, in no. But I think, there was also some understanding there as well. That there are people that are out of work, who are frustrated, who just want to get back to their normal lives. So there was some understanding there. At the same time, people are saying, please don't get my kids sick. Please don't get me sick. Let's go slow and steady.
And can we call out the racial divide between crazy folks and not crazy folks? You didn't see a lot of black and brown folks marching to.
I could have sworn there were black folks in North Carolina.
I don't know. I didn't see a lot. I didn't see a lot in the Liberate, Ohio, the weak rally they had there. But, to each their own. I've got my opinion. I want to hear yours. So you can log on to the Facebook there. My goodness. Anyway, what else is happening in the world? Let's get into it.
I think we're good. I think we're all. Oh yes, I'm sorry. It's oof.
We need our quick COVID.
Oh yes, I don't know if you want to end it with the good news or the bad news or the badder news. Unfortunately, COVID-19 again. Talking about more reasons why we should likely stay inside and hunker down. The death totals are rising. 46,785 deaths right now. 46,785 deaths in the United States. Actually, here in Massachusetts, yesterday was our deadliest day. 211 deaths.
It's just stunning. And I have to say, it really has been impacting the kids quite a bit. You know, it kind of smacked my kids right in the face for the first time. You know, they were out taking a walk by the cranberry bogs yesterday, and they've been, you know, we've been at home like making sure that, you know, we're away from people. They haven't seen a lot of people, but they were out walking in a cranberry bog, because that is a thing in Massachusetts.
Not in the city.
Not in the city, but out, you know, down towards Cape Cod. So they were out there with their Nana yesterday. And some people saw them walking on a path and literally hightailed it out of there, ran away. And my boys this morning are a little shook from that. They're a little afraid. So, you know, once again, just, you know, I know we've been talking about this a lot. All of our kids are going to be trauma impacted.
Yeah.
You know, you go from teaching them, you know, I was a mama that, you know, used to walk down that we're a big singing family. We sing all the time. It's a little annoying, but it's who we are. And we used to love to sing "Who Are the People in Your Neighborhood" and say good morning to everyone. Like that was something that was like ingrained in us. And now a whole, you know, just a change in terms of how we interact with people and to be afraid of people, you know, and you know, that's something really emotional for our kids. So I'm noticing that in my babies this morning, you know, just they're really sad about it.
Yeah.
They've never had anybody run away from them like in fear that way before.
Yeah. So
anyway, on to brighter topics and our little ray of sunshine from Austin, Texas.
That's right.
Our friend Mira Brown from Prepared Parents joining us. We'll check in and see how she got through her thunderstormy day.
That's right. I can't wait to hear from her.
And see how that went for her. Mira Brown, of course, from Prepared Parents. You can visit their website, preparedforsuccess.org or preparedparents.org. It's really easy to sign up. Just takes a couple minutes, and every morning you can get her amazing email with tips on how to just manage your day pretty easily that way. So
let's bring Mira up there.
Let's bring Mira up. I think we're seeing her in the live stream. I'm not.
Oh, there might be some delay. Yep.
So let's see. We're not seeing or hearing her.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Hey, good morning. We can see you.
How are you?
It looks like another sunny day.
We have, yesterday was raining and it thundered and all that good stuff. Made for a very long day. Although I did force my kids out in the rain at one point. I was like, we will run. We will get energy out.
We hunted Pokemon last night around 7:30 outside. It was cold.
Yeah, it's gonna be 90 today and 96 tomorrow.
Sounds like sprinkles.
Here in Austin. And so this is when I start having I've only lived in Austin for a little over a year now, I guess a year and a half. And this is when I start having oh boy, it's getting hot and it's just gonna keep getting hotter. And so we sort of go indoors, but for completely different over the summer, but for a completely different reason, which is it's really hot here. And so, but we had a good day. Speaking of singing, I do think one day you need to sing for us, since you are a singing family.
We are singing. We are very singing. Wow.
I'm just saying I don't want to sing.
Oh.
If you want to sing.
He's like, I'm just going to drink my coffee. I have a new coping mechanism that I think everyone should use, which is last night it finally stopped raining. My husband was putting the 6-year-old to bed. The 2-year-old still had a little too much energy. So I took him for a walk around the neighborhood and I just put on my running dance music. I was just dancing down the street and Miles is just hopping he's obsessed with being a frog right now, pretending to be a frog. And my niece and nephew were walking with us. My nephew who's 15 is just oh my God, you know, the whole time. And it was great. So I totally recommend just dance down the street.
There's no shame in my game. If it's time to dance, then we're in the super
dance.
Let's
time
do
to
it.
dance. Like, let's do it.
And you know what?
My 13-year-old
I just took on her challenge, by the way. I just posted on our website. If there's any song I could sing on Facebook Live, what would it be?
Ooh.
So Facebook Live viewers, pick a song and I will sing it tomorrow.
Tim is a new Robin Thicke fan, so just making a little suggestion for you. But
I thought that was Prince.
I don't even know how we confused the two of them. But we are a very kind of singy, dancey family, and it doesn't matter when or where. And my 13-year-old is completely mortified.
Yeah.
Completely. I'm the most embarrassing, and I love it. It's very I fully embraced my role as the most embarrassing mother in the world.
You got to do it.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I'm enjoying that my 2-year-old is not yet embarrassed. My 6-year-old is getting there, and my 15-year-old nephew is absolutely 100% there. And it's quite enjoyable. I'm not gonna lie. I do get some daily pleasure out of it.
How much that would be one of the rewards of being a mother, would be like the embarrassment I can inflict on my children. It's one of the joys. It really is.
I also wanted to mention, you guys were talking about really interesting conversation about just what we're learning about our kids.
Yeah.
And so I've been thinking a lot about that, because I think that there's sort of this mix of emotions right now that at least I'm feeling, which is, oh my gosh, please take my child back. Like, I would do anything to get him back in a school building. 2, oh my goodness, I know so much more about my child, and I understand my child in such a different way. And I have all of this thoughts and knowledge and everything swirling in my head. What do I do with it? And so we're going to be creating something that parent, like a sort of a tool, or that parents can actually use to basically communicate back, if it's helpful, to teachers in their schools about this is who my child is. This is what I've learned. This is what this is what you should know. This is what I'm excited about. This is what I'm worried about. Like how do you take all that information and get that back, whether your school's opening again for those that kind of are, or whether you're done, for the school year. Like, what do you do with that? And so coming soon.
State to state, right? And you and I are in some of these national policy conversations where people are talking about what is assessment going to look like? And I'm singing the same song, and people are going to get tired of me saying it, but I don't care. We need 360-degree assessments, 360-degree assessments. And that means parents that are right now in the thick of it. We are the teachers. Learning is not happening without us facilitating it. We have data that educators are going to need, in addition to whatever assessment tool they're going to use in real time as our kids hopefully re-enter public school buildings. You're going to need our information. Yeah. And you and I as IEP, and Tim too, as IEP moms and dads, we know that part of the reevaluation process and the evaluation process is, special educators seek our input. What do we know about our kids and how they learn and how they behave? Yep. Now is the time that we learn from the special ed community and say, well, this is a norm here, and it's really helpful. Data is critical in special education. Yeah. And for some reason, it's like the untouchable, evil, thing in general matriculating kids. We need data. We cannot help our kids by just guessing. And so I'm excited about that, because, it's going to vary state to state. And frankly, I hope you guys do it sooner than later, because I want to be thinking about what are the things that I need to be observing so that I can tell my child's teacher next year, because I don't know what those things are. Yep. I know some, I can guess a little bit because I have a little of that experience as a special ed mama, but some folks won't because they haven't been through that process. So I hope you'll kind of guide us through that, so that as we go through the next couple of months, we can say, okay, does my child, even things as simple as, does my child learn better in the afternoon or in the morning?
Right.
Yes. All of those, that's exactly right. Right. All of those types of things, or, even I'm slowly, learning even how do I get what are the topics or the things that the activities, or sort of even more nuanced than that my child is willing to sit down for and is really interested in? What are the things that he just initially clamps up and like run, and what should I know about that, right? Is there something underneath that I should be aware of? Is that because, he's missing a skill, or is that because he's struggling with something? Or is it like, this is all of this that is sort of, even as a parent myself, swirling in my own head. And it would be a miss, I think, as a parent and sort of across the country as communities to not share that. And teachers want that. It's not that they don't want that. Schools want, like, they want that information, And so anyway, stay tuned. It's coming as soon as possible. Hopefully within the next, sort of 10 days at least, some version 1 that we can talk about and we can share out, because schools are starting, like our school district ends at the end of May, right? Our schools end at the end of May. We start a little bit earlier. And so schools are going to basically start shutting for the summer. And so we want to get something out. So.
Awesome.
Well, it looks like you're doing a great job, especially Ben, keeping kids occupied during the apocalypse here. If I'm reading this right, so Ben yesterday drank several boxes of wine.
My poor husband is getting such a raw deal on this. I feel like he needs to come on and like explain himself. So he likes boxed wine, and it's definitely cheaper. And I'm pretty sure he gets it all at Costco because we're just a Costco family. I feel like we need to have some stocks in Costco. But anyway, and it was Earth Day yesterday, right? And so I try to live up to what we recommend. And so when we were done, I was like, Ben, you need to do got to go back to Project Time Daddy. And he's like, I know, I've been dropping the ball, Project Time Daddy. And so he got all of our boxes within the recycling, and he and Gabe started to make a city out of them. They got as far as a bridge. And then my son's sort of ADHD brain got bored and moved on to the next, it's like bing, bing, like moved on to the next thing. But it was like, I came out from like a really stressful afternoon of like working and trying to get stuff done, and it was really quiet, and I got a little worried because I'm usually opening the door screaming for people to be quiet. And they were just like happily working together and building. And then I noticed it's all the wine boxes. Like, hey, those have to be recycled too.
Wow. Well, you know what? We make do with the materials.
Hey, we're surviving.
I mean, it's either that or those are at least smaller. It's either that or, what else do we have? We have the diaper boxes and,
In 6 months, I might be making forts out of canned Spam containers. So
you probably can do that.
Yeah.
So what's our tip for today?
So I wanted to talk today about something that is likely happening in a lot of our households. And I was personally relieved to know that there's actually a term for this. And so I want to talk about helping our kids with emotional outbursts. And I think that this follows, Keri, what you were saying this morning about sort of how your kids, right, were feeling and how they're being impacted by what they're sort of seeing and experiencing, right? And ultimately, therefore, feeling. But emotional outbursts are happening a lot in my house. And I don't think I'm the only one. I don't think I'm the only parent sort of trying to manage through this. And let's be clear, it's not just my children, it's this one right here as well. And so I own it. But there is something called, I'm fully honest, as you guys know in the mornings, but there is something called emotional hijacking, which I thought was really interesting because I think we're very familiar with the concept of how do we, identify and understand and manage our emotions. But there are the moments where we don't, where we get really frustrated and overwhelmed, and we say something later that we regret. We act in a way, we say something we regret. And that is called emotional hijacking. This is a really big, right? Like there's a lot into how we handle emotions. It's a huge field in science in and of itself. So we're going to touch, I just want to be super clear. And there's fields of trauma associated and so many things. So I just want to be super clear with everyone that I'm going to be talking about one small piece of something that is super critical and important to us and our kids. And there's a lot more tips and resources on preparedforsuccess.org on the tip and of course out there. But let's understand why, and then just some small things that we can be doing as families to help us through the day. And so the science around this is sorry, excuse me, let me take a step back. there is science around this, like everything else. And it's very much around that there's an area of the brain that specializes in detecting and responding to threat, right? It's a very unique area of our brain. And when it goes into overdrive, right, it shuts down all logical reasoning, right? And so that's called fight or flight or freeze, right? It's a state that we go into, evolutionary, it's always been there. And so but sometimes we're presented with a situation that actually isn't necessarily threatening, but does feel overwhelming, and the brain can go into that overdrive. And so elicit an emotional outburst or response to an otherwise, I don't want to say normal, nothing is normal, but you guys know what I mean, right? And so when you think about like the situation we're living in right now, for us and our kids, it's extraordinarily overwhelming. We're on top of each other, we're working, we're under pressure, we're worried about our friends and family, and all of this is swirling. And our brains are quite sort of, or our minds are quite remarkable in that they're actually meant to, and they have mechanisms to find meaning out of chaos, but they can't do that when you go into that fight or flight, right? That all shuts down. And so what does that look like? That can look like, at least in my household, slamming of doors, shouting, crying, and that's not all just my kids. And right, and so, and I'm sure there's other variations, just like kids shutting down, right? Some kids shut down versus, and it's a different type of sort of outburst. And so hope is not lost. There is stuff that we can do, or things that we can do for our kids to help them learn to, what we call self-regulate. And as adults. And what does that mean? That essentially means shifting from responding really intensely to learning to sort of pause and reflect and respond thoughtfully. And I want to be super clear, it's a skill and a habit that is learned. You don't just have it or not have it type of thing. And it takes a long time. I am almost 40 and I am working on this myself. And so we need to give our kids some grace, right? Under, and to learn it. So what do we do? Sort of step one is, well, I should say grace and practice. They need to be able to practice. And so that means that we actually have to get a control of our own emotion in those moments, which is extraordinarily hard to do. And I'll talk about that in a second. But the first thing is, we've talked about this before together, and that is actually taking a step back and reflecting. And you can't do it in the moment, right? Remember, nothing logical is happening in the moment. You have to let the moment end. You have to take a step away, and then you have to come back to, I shouldn't say have to, you should come back together. And oftentimes you want to just sort of run forward, be like, oh, it's over. Let's not talk about it. Let's just move on to the next thing. But the challenge with that is that you're not actually learning anything from that moment, and your kids are not learning anything from that moment. And so it is very much talking with them and having a conversation as best as possible. This is a little bit easier with older kids than younger kids, obviously. But like, what did they want from that situation? What were they feeling? Like, what would we do differently next time, right? There is a conversation. And my son, we try, and he is getting better and better, right? And so you can start somewhere and just keep going and keep practicing. And as a parent, you can ask yourself the same question. So you are ready to sort of engage in that conversation, right? How do my moods and behavior impact my family and my kids? The next is from Turnaround for Children, which is a phenomenal organization. And it's really making an emotional response plan. So it's like one thing to talk about it, but you actually have to help your kids say, when I feel this, I can do this instead of this, right? And so they have something you can download. It's linked on our website. It's a simple piece of paper. But when I feel, I can, right? And just going through that process with your kids. Sorry, it's really hard to see. I probably should have just sent it to you. But that says I feel, and that says I can. And so, but this is really about kids recognizing that emotions, and adults, again, recognizing that emotions don't just happen to us, right? Like, they're responses, right, to situations that we actually can control. And there's other things that we can do in those moments, right? And
getting so many responses on Facebook right now with parents saying, oh my gosh, I need this.
Yes.
Like Vivette saying, does this work for adults? Because I'm at the times on the brink of a meltdown, outburst.
Yeah.
Christy just checking in, saying, if she loves giving kids grace and parents too, like a lot of parents identifying with this, saying,
feeling it.
what do we do with this? What, and how do we handle it? Because it's going to happen, right? The outburst is going to happen. I think the most important thing that I'm hearing, and you tell me if I'm on the right path with this, is that we know that we're going to have these moments, whether it's that internal explosion where kids are shutting down and we're shutting down and shutting people out, or it's that external explosion where we're yelling at each other and slamming doors. You got to kind of let the moment happen. Like the endorphins are already off and running. Like your body's got to calm down. You got to be able to access that portion of your brain where you can think logically. But don't just ignore it. Go back to it so you can learn and kind of heal from it. And hopefully, before you get to that point the next time, you can kind of save it. Keep the train on the tracks.
That's exactly right. And again, I want to recognize it's way easier said than done, right? I get that. I'm working on this for myself. I'm working on this with my own kids. It's really hard to do in the moment. And it can be really hard to have that conversation, because the truth is, like, I'll sit down with Gabriel and I'll try to say, hey buddy, like, let's talk about, and he doesn't want to talk about it. Like, he just wants to move on, and so I'll start with like, well, hey buddy, let me tell you what I've learned about myself, or let me tell you what I want to try to do better next time. And again, like, the first time you do it, you may get somewhere, you may not, it really depends on you and your child and your relationship. But that moment of sitting down also, and we've talked about this, like, it does show them that they matter, right? It does show them that you care about how they're feeling, and that you're attuned to it and you recognize it. And when you own your own mistakes, like, we all know this as parents, right? You don't sort of need science to prove it. Like, kids respond to that, right? And so one thing I would say is that there are ways to try to get ahead of it. And we're trying this. And so we've talked about daily check-ins, 5 minutes. They take 5 minutes. How are you feeling today? If you have younger kids, I've shown you this before. I use this every day. It's getting ruined. I need to order another one, but they're just faces for all the different ways we feel. Gabriel's getting a little bit better at not just pointing to any face and being like, dude, what is that? Nobody, you're not, whatever. You're not feeling critical right now. I don't think that's how you feel. Let's actually talk about, but he is getting better at that. So a daily check-in for older kids, you can have a deeper conversation. But that starts to sort of, again, like, help you get ahead of all of this. And in the moment, I'll just say one last thing. When emotional hijacking happens, I just love that name, but when emotional hijacking happens, in the moment as a parent, you can also help your kids. Like, you can pause and try to take a deep breath. If you feel like, I can feel when it's coming, like, I feel my whole body starting to shake before I go, there's a 3-second trick you can try, like counting to 3. And do I need to say this? Do I need to say this now? The hardest thing to do, it saved me yesterday. Your volume, saying sorry, even in the, hey, but I'm sorry, I'm going to step away right now. I'm sorry, mom, and we've talked about this before.
You're going to work on this today.
We'll work on that today. Yeah. Ooh, could have used that yesterday, Mira. Where were you then?
You and me both. Again, you and me both. So much preparedforsuccess.org. It's all on there. There's a ton out there. You can download we link to Turnaround for Children's emotional strategies tool. And the very last thing is, Gabriel has a trend of this now. This book, In My Heart, is possibly the best feelings book just for little kids that I've gotten. It has, when I get really angry, my heart feels as if it's going to explode. Don't come near me. Like, it talks about them, how you're feeling, what that looks like. The kids love it. So anyway, we read it. I recommend it.
I'm going to order that, and I'm going to order the feelings chart. Right, we're done here.
And download for check-ins. We have a really simple, I don't want to throw too many things at you, but we do have a really simple tool on our website that just helps you with that 5-minute check-in every single morning. You can give it to your older kids, younger kids. So there's a lot there. It's a big one, but there's little things we can do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where
That's
you
right.
can sign up for tips and get more information from Mira. Mira, thank you so much.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
see you next Tuesday. She'll be back with us from Austin, Texas. Always good to have you, and we love all of the wisdom and the guidance backed by science, and also experimented with real parents.
We got a lot of wisdom on this show.
That's right.
Experimented with my child. No, I'm kidding. Yes. And your children. Between the two of us, that's a
We need help. We're just
Right.
trying to figure this out, so we appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mira. Have a great day.
Preparedforsuccess.org, preparedparents.org as well. Always good to have Mira with us. I'm excited for our next guest. We love Jersey.
We love Jersey.
We're about that Jersey. We had a lot of Jersey on this week.
We need more
We
Jersey.
need more Jersey.
So you introduced Jersey.
Now we're gonna check out.
I'm gonna order some books on
We're
Amazon.
gonna check in with our friends from Camden. Shirley Irizarry, and I think I'm probably screwing up her
You
last
killed
name.
it. No, you got it.
Irizarry. Our homegirl Shirley, who came to New Orleans with us, one of the founding delegates of the National Parents Union. She's also the community outreach manager for Parents for Great Camden Schools in Camden, New Jersey, joining us live. We're so glad that she's with us. And hopefully, I think I'm hearing her. I'm not seeing her.
I'm here. Hi.
Hey, girl, how are you?
Hi, Carrie. I'm good.
Who is our special guest? Who do you have with you?
This is my goddaughter, Dynasty.
Dynasty.
She's 2 years old. She just woke up and she wants some waffles.
Oh, I want some waffles too. Just right now. But Shirley, how are you? How are all your babies? Your god babies, your babies?
We are hanging in, and listening to Mira just now was just so an eye-opener for me, because we do have like our emotions are like on a roller coaster right now, where we have our highs, where we're like totally coping and understanding how serious the issue is, but how we're doing the best that we possibly can. And then I have my lows where I'm like, am I doing the best that I can? How are my kids going to be affected by this? So I do, while we don't have like the outbursts, as you would say, because we're Puerto Rican, so we're like loud and we're used to that part already. But I have had my moments where I just want to break down crying. So I'm glad to hear that from Mira, to know that I'm normal. I'm not the only one that's going through it. And that was very helpful.
Shirley, that's why we have a conversation every morning, because we bring on experts, like even the fanciest folks. We make them get real and say, oh, you're an expert, how's things in your own home? And they're saying, oh man, it is.
No.
That's the commonality we have as parents in this moment, because this is not easy.
No, and I have a student that's graduating this year. So not having all those senior activities is really taking a toll on her, even though she's like me. She's trying to make the best of it. She knows prom is out of the question right now. So she was like, it's okay. There's a large expense, whatever. But now it's hitting her like, oh, I want to be with my classmates. We're missing this and we're missing that. So.
And I think about it like, I have a little bit of a different circumstance. I got expelled from public school. Like they were done with me, got pushed out. Like they were also, I didn't experience a lot of those senior activities because of that circumstance,
Okay.
But I feel like I can identify with a lot of, because I'll tell you now, like I'm 41 years old and I'm still like, I never went to prom. I never.
Really? Yeah, she said she wonders if she's gonna feel like that. Like, oh, I never went to prom.
At least, I think that we're going to have a generation of kids going through this. And I think that we can, approach them with love and humanity and figure out like, how can we acknowledge their grief? Because it is grief. That's trauma. Like
absolutely.
It's like, this was the big goal. Like your whole life was you're going to graduate.
Yeah.
And that's what we push them towards. Hopefully, I know mamas like you and me, we're going to get creative.
Yeah, I've actually been thinking of doing something citywide to celebrate our graduates. So, I'm going to get together with my team and see what we can come up with, because we have several high schools in the city and we really want to honor them and just celebrate their success.
So, I think it's so important. Like we talk about younger kids and older kids, all of our babies are kind of going through these moments and how difficult it is. And, we've been trying to especially lift up our older kids that maybe not have, the behavioral issues that we see in our younger kids. They have different ones and different mental health issues that they're going through. We can't forget that, and the trauma that they're being impacted by.
It seems almost more difficult with the older kids because you can't put a Band-Aid on it, right? You can't just keep acting like everything's normal. You know, they understand more about what's going on, and quite honestly, she's way more connected, you know, through the internet. So she sometimes has more information that I know. So it's very difficult, just having to be upfront and just being, you know, transparent about how I feel, so that she can know that, you know, it's fine. It's normal to feel the way that she's feeling. But yeah, it's difficult. Like with the baby, I can just, you know, put on a movie, entertain her, kind of redirect her attention. But with my oldest kids, it's more difficult. And I, you know, I have the senior, and then I also have a middle schooler. So I have my hands full here.
Middle schooler too. I got a middle schooler too. Mine is a sixth grader. He's also got some special needs too, so there's some challenges anyway. But our middle school guys, like they've got some of their own challenges too. You know, like where they're just starting to blossom into some of that social activity, and really, like I have a son, and he still needs to run his body around. You know, they're not in sports, they're not in the normal activities, so it's not just school. It's like the loss of all of this. And I was just starting to give him the freedom to like go walk down the block, go get mommy some milk, go hang out with your friends. And now it's like, you know, as I was saying earlier in the broadcast, it was like, you know, they had their first experience with people running away from them in fear. And it's, you know, it's a whole new world. Like
I cannot imagine that.
Yeah, it's just, it was really upsetting for them. They were like, why are people afraid of us? Should I be afraid of that? You know, that's, you know, in some circumstances, that's what it's feeling like. Everybody's afraid of each other.
I can certainly relate to that because my middle schooler is, she tends to be more of a loner. And she'll have like, she can just have like one friend at a time. Whereas my older daughter, she's a social butterfly, so she can have many friends. So I'm a little bit concerned with my middle schooler because I do want her to socialize more. I feel like it's good for her development. And so she was just starting to come out of her shell, and now she's reverted back to just being, you know, she withdraws, and she's fine being by herself. So I guess it's a normal thing then.
Yeah, you know, and that's why, you know, forgive me, but it does my heart good to talk to other mamas saying, you know, I'm going through the same. It makes me feel not so alone. Like,
yes. And then girls too, you know, there's a lot going on there with girls.
I feel blessed. I'm the mom of boys. You have your hands full of girls. Like there's many layers to that. I hear.
Oh my God. And then they're both either moody, or one is moody and the other one's okay. So then it's just a huge balance act here in the house.
Yeah.
But
so, you know, I love checking in to see what's happening with the family, and you are connected to so many families in Camden too, and you have an extraordinary organization for Great Camden Schools. So what's happening, you know, in the community? Are you able to connect with folks? What is that?
Yeah, we still are. We are actively doing outreach. So we have we've been still able to phone bank and do mailings. We partnered with big thing that we did is we partnered with Comcast in our city in order to offer families free internet access during this time. So we've been pushing that. On our website, parents are able to log in and see that information and go directly. You know, we have a link that puts them directly to Comcast to be able to sign up for that service. It's called Internet Essentials. And then we also have a link if they do have a difficulty, a link to us where they fill out, you know, a little questionnaire, and we're able to reach out to them and walk them through the process.
And I think that's important, like that's because like we've been seeing across the country, you know, you got districts, you know, you got charter schools, all these folks patting themselves on the back saying, well, we gave you a hotspot, we gave you free internet. The you know, digital literacy issues, like assuming everybody knows how to set that stuff up, like that's crazy. or that they have the time, like half of us are still working those essential jobs.
Yes.
So you miss the window where you can get somebody to help you. So having organizations step up saying like, listen, here's how you do it. We'll even help walk you through. That's the missing link in why the work of parent advocacy organizations right now,
absolutely,
like everybody's being seen, because without us doing this work, on the grassroots level, a lot of our kids wouldn't be able to access it.
yeah, that's absolutely true, and that's exactly our approach to it, was knowing that some families are going to have a difficulty with it. And you're right about the school saying, we provided the technology, your kids just have to log on and do the work, but not realizing that might be another barrier for families. So that's where we stepped in. I always say our job is to stand in the gap for those families who can't advocate for themselves. So I'm very proud of that work. We're also doing voter registration, believe it or not, phone banking people that are not registered voters, and providing them we're able to mail out registration forms to them and then follow up with them and see, hey, did you have any issues? Did you send in your registration? So we're still able to connect with families, thankfully.
This out of the park. Now, why would you care about people voting in this? Why would you put your energy there, Shirley?
Yeah, because why do the work and then we can't just be always saying, oh, this is the issue, right? And not coming with solutions and not being able to affect policies. So in order to do that, we need to encourage voters, our parents, to be voters, so they can speak their truths and vote for policies that they believe in. So that's why it's important to us that families are registered to vote. And we're nonpartisan, absolutely. So we're not telling them who to vote for, but we're just explaining the importance of voting, and just reminding them that, if you want change to happen, you need to be an active participant. And that's the ultimate right there. Is voting.
I love it. Shirley, so good to see you in New Jersey. We're so inspired by your work and your message. So I hope everybody else, you're hearing about what's happening in Camden right now and what Parents for Great Camden Schools is doing. They're not stopping their work, not their advocacy, not their voter registration, not their pushing the communities to advocate. So everybody, I haven't heard about a lot of voter reg. Of what we're seeing in Camden. Let's add to our advocacy and make sure that we're on top of the census, we're on top of voter registration. Let's make sure we're still firing on all cylinders. We got to adapt.
Yeah. This is not a break, like you said, right? If anything, for me personally, it has called out all the inequities. So I feel like this is not a time to sit down and take a break. Take your mental break when you need it, right? Because you do need that. But it's not a time to stop the work. And we have the tools to continue to work. So just keep firing all cylinders, working around and adapting to the environment that we're in, currently. I'm sorry, I can't, she's in my ear. She's talking too. So that's what I urge all advocates to do, is to continue firing all cylinders, and keep reaching out to families and doing the work.
Give that baby some waffles. She's been patient and waiting for her waffles.
She wants her waffles.
Shirley, thank you so much for
checking. Thanks, Keri.
Nice to see your smiling face this
morning. You too.
All right, Shirley checking in from Parents Schools. Thank you so much. And our next guest, very excited to have her with us as well. We got to check in on all our people across the country. And she's a dear friend, Tanisha Peoples. She's the Deputy Director of Activist Development at Right Beam Network. She's an extraordinary friend. I've known her for quite some time, and she's a legend in organizing circles. Just doing incredible work, building up parent activists and teaching us all the way of organizing and what's worked for her. she's been extraordinary as a resource for us. So we're so blessed to have Tanisha with us, and we want to hear from her about the work that Bright Beam is doing right now in communities all across the country, but also checking in on how things are going in Chicago, Illinois, where she joins us. And she is of Chicago. She knows those streets, she knows those communities, and so wonderful to get her expertise. So Tanisha, do we have her on the screen? Let's see if we can have her join us.
I think I'm here, right?
There you are. I can see. And look, you have the 7-day forecast.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest? What do you see in the forecast, girl?
That I have my special guest is Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and our forecast is basically stay in the house. Doesn't matter what any news station says, our mayor says stay in the house, and that's what I'm doing.
She's so awesome. And if you're not following Lori Lightfoot on Twitter, and her videos and her clapbacks on people trying to, act a fool, like, oh, you got plans on Friday night? Let me tell you your plans. Stay home.
Right.
You're not any plans. I was cracking up watching her the other night, or watching her on Twitter is so funny. But Tanisha, how are you? How are your people? How's your family? How's your community right now?
I'm good. I'm maintaining. Like a lot of people, this was a total shock. A complete disruption of our lives, and really hard to grasp. So like a lot of people, I had plans for 2020, and COVID just came in and just said, forget your plans. So it's been a tough adjustment, and having family members that have been impacted by the virus. My brother had it. My sister actually had to take him to the hospital, so she was exposed. My nephew works at Walmart, so he's, continuously exposed. My best friend's mother had it. She was in the hospital alone. So just the reality that we could lose people at any moment, to this virus is nerve-wracking. So trying to keep it together during this time and stay strong for the people who are suffering, the people who've suffered losses, the people who are sick, trying to maintain our sanity when we have to go to the grocery store. Like every time I go outside to go get food, I get anxiety, and so it's hard, but trying to stay optimistic and just wait on the day when it's all over.
Tanisha, we have been watching Chicago very closely since week 1 of all of this, when we started, our Facebook Lives here, and talking about, we knew that the disproportionality of impact was going to hit communities of color, low-income community. We knew where it was going to be. And once the data came out, and people like my Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley pushing to have that aggregation of data, so we could actually point and say, see, we knew Black and brown and poor people were going to be disproportionately impacted for a whole host of reasons, so that we can hold folks accountable. Chicago was a hot spot from day 1. And I remember the very first day where we were talking to Chris Williams from Newark, New Jersey, who was saying, listen, racism does not sleep because we have a pandemic. We're seeing this. Chicago is a perfect example of the inequity here. Like, that's got to make you mad as hell, on top of everything else that you're facing just personally.
Yes. And as us, we as activists, like, we take this stuff personally, and so the reality of the racism, the foundational racism of this country is very real during this pandemic. With Chicago being such a segregated city, you see where the resources are and where they aren't. And so even in my community, I'm on the far south side of Chicago. I'm not too far from Indiana. So I'm pretty close to Gary, and Gary is having some of the same problems where we don't have those kind of mobile facilities where we can go get tested. Before this pandemic happened, they were talking about closing 4 hospitals on the south side of Chicago alone. And so when you see those disparities magnified, it's infuriating. And at this point, I'm trying to balance the fury with being proactive, And so these are issues that we need to highlight, and I'm just hoping that people are taking notice, because where we've been kind of complacent in some places, this is an opportunity to say, this is a wake-up call for us to get active and for us to make some real decisions that are for the betterment of our communities.
I gotta say, you know, our comments on Facebook in real time right now, everybody's praying for your family, and praying for your community, and what you're saying is giving them life and hope. And that's what, you know, the National Parents Union, that's what we're here for, is that connection, so that, you know, all of us doing this work in communities across the country and in Puerto Rico, you know, we need that connection. You know, we need that solidarity, so that we're not feeling the burden of this. What you were talking about, like how personal this is for all of us. You know, we were not the folks that sat back and said, oh, I guess we're going to get a break now. Like, the work doubled. It got harder. We had to think faster. We had to think on our feet. We had to transition. We had to overcome obstacles. So you've got, you know, parent organizations and activists across the country that didn't say, oh, well, I guess this means I'm going on vacation. It meant, wow, now I'm going to have to double up and get to work. So I know you are a leader of activists. You're helping activists across the country. You do your own work on top of that. So I got to say, I've been inspired to see parent activists, and of course we have the parent lens, and you see folks from a whole different, you know, all different perspectives here, but from the parent activist lens, I've seen extraordinary work. I've seen triumphs. I've seen overcoming of challenges. Tell me what you're seeing right now, and how it's made you feel to see folks step up this way.
It's I'm grateful, you know, that we have people that are still in the fight, despite them having to fight the virus, having to balance their everyday lives. So we have activists who are educators, you know, and so they have to make that transition from being in a classroom to now e-learning and figuring that whole thing out, on top of still being activists. You know, we have activists who are parents, so they have to figure out the online learning thing, make sure their kids are getting the resources that they need, and still be activists for their communities. So I'm just grateful. You know, it really shows that people have an authentic spirit and genuine intentions in supporting our communities, and that's rare. You know, activism is popular. It's become popular over the past you know, couple of years, and so everybody wants to be an activist. But when it comes down to doing the true work, we see who's about that life. And in this pandemic, we're seeing who's about this life. You know, even in Chicago, we're seeing so many community-based organizations risk their lives to deliver groceries to people who need it, to do fundraising, to deliver essentials. And our elected officials are just sitting like, I don't know, well, we're handing out gloves, you know. And so this, again, is a wake-up call. The people who are out risking their lives to deliver groceries, to really take care of the communities, those are the ones that need to be in those elected official seats. So these are the conversations that I'm trying to push, to say, y'all, we're doing this work. We need to be in charge of our communities, because the people that we've hired to do the work, that are making 6 figures a year in their part-time roles, aren't taking care of us. And this has been consistent. This has been constant. And we don't have time for it anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of us being put on the back burner. You know, so it's time. It's a depressing time, but it's a revolution. It's a revolution, and we all need to step up.
And I gotta say, I so identify with what you're saying. The way I put it is, you know, everybody wants to be a gangster till it's time to do gangster shit. You know, it's time to step up. Forgive me, sorry, but Mama's gonna, you know, speak her truth this morning. But that's what it is. Yep. You know, this is a moment where there are blessings in this. You know, it's transformative, it's heartbreaking, it's triumphant, it's terrible, all of these things at the same time. I think that there are opportunities in this for, you know, because parents right now are so aware of inequities, because we're seeing it play out in our own home. We're seeing it play out in our communities, in our neighborhoods, all of that. And people aren't, they're overwhelmed, but they're also mad as hell. And, you know, how do we channel their energy into activism? And their pain into power? Like, that's what folks like you and I do every single day. So I'm thinking that this is an important moment for us. But I got to ask you a final question, because we're running short on time. But I think the most important thing, and I, you know, this is what I've been thinking about, is how important activism actually is in this moment, and advocacy, because we are trying to rapid respond to so many situations right now. we've got to be able to walk and chew gum, because policymakers are making big policy decisions. Frankly, those that, probably are not going to benefit our children. They're going to do it without us. They're going to do it to us. If we are not, at the table, we're on the menu, is what we always say. And there are folks that are taking advantage of this moment to advance their long-standing political agendas. And if we don't, have the capacity, and we're not nimble enough to say, okay, we can help our people, because that's where our heart is. But we also got to use our brains to make sure we're part of the post-COVID-19 policies that are being developed without us right now. We're going to be in trouble right now. So what would you say to that?
I would say that, again, we need to, as activists who are paying attention to the policies that, decision makers are trying to push, while parents and community members are paying attention, it's our jobs to keep our parents and our community members informed. So as an example, Nakima Levy-Armstrong in Minnesota noticed that the Minneapolis School Board was trying to redistrict school boundaries. And she caught that, and she called them out for it. And she delayed that vote, because parents wouldn't be engaged. And then you have Lakeisha of Oakland Reach calling out the school board for having school board meetings when parents don't have access to internet to attend those meetings. And so we have to pay attention to the policies that they're trying to implement while we're focused on trying to survive. And we need to constantly call those things out. And so a mass campaign that we're working on at Brightbeam is pushing the issue of lack of internet access. And we're calling the FCC out to provide free internet for all low-income families, because they have control over all the providers, so that kids can do their e-learning successfully. But then,
and I know you had a Twitter rally yesterday. How'd that go?
It went well. We went hard. We're going to do it again. Like my last tweet to the FCC was, we're activists, we're parents, like, this is we care about this shit, and we won't let up, so until you give us what we're demanding, be prepared for the storm, and that's the mentality that we have to have going forward in this moment and in the future, that we won't let up and be prepared for a storm, because it's time. It really is time. So we just have to keep our ears to the ground. And again, keep a seat at the table so that we're representing our communities and keeping them informed of when people are trying to make decisions that's going to negatively impact us down the line. We ain't got time for it no more. Time's up. Like Auntie Maxine said, time is up.
Absolutely. Tanisha, put us to work. Let us know how we can help. Let us know when the next Twitter rally is, so we can get prepared and get folks lined up to help and support. We got, folks that are ready to do that work. Just, call on us. We'll be happy to help. Tanisha Peoples, she is the Deputy Director of Activist Development at Brightbeam. Girl, so good to see your face this morning. You give me life. You give me life.
Yeah, I miss y'all.
Yeah, I could use a hug from Tanisha. Really, but great to see you from Chicago. We're sending you love, your whole family, and hope things get easier for everybody in Chicago soon.
Yeah, thank you guys so much, and great work, and I love working with you guys. So let's just keep up the good fight.
Let's keep going. All right, folks. Well, that's our broadcast for today. Thank you so much for joining us and being with us. It is Thursday, April 23rd, 2020. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of that. So we'll be reminding you every morning. Great show today. So
today, please make sure that you visit internetessentials.com. That's internetessentials.com. And also so there's two choices I can sing tomorrow. I know we got to sing someone I'm a little, that's sort of out of my wheelhouse here. So I know Bill Withers.
Lovely day.
Someone else said you get the whole world in your hand. But then some people went outside my wheelhouse and they said Lizzo and Bruno Mars.
We were listening to Lizzo this morning.
That's right. So I think it might have to be Lizzo.
Oh, I'm
so you're gonna pick a song, and tomorrow I will sing
Do you
a
really
Lizzo
want
song.
me to pick you a Lizzo song?
You can pick me a Lizzo song.
Challenge accepted.
Okay.
Challenge
I won't
accepted.
dance, but I'll sing it tomorrow.
I don't know how you sing a Lizzo song and not dance.
Well, trust me, I'll find a way. But guys, thanks for joining us today. Thanks to everyone who gave feedback today. Christy Joyce, Vivette, as always. Shirley's on there. Liliana's on there. People are on fire today.
That's right.
People are on fire today. So have a great day today, guys. Thanks to our special guests, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Have a great day.